Hey, y'all, and welcome back to the Innovation Room podcast. My name is Tori Homann, and I am one of your hosts, joined today by my co-host, Jonathon Yasko. Really excited to be here to discuss this very interesting, very relevant topic.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm super excited to be here. I'm super excited for the talk today because AI is, a topic across all realms of business. And our guest today definitely has some interesting insights on how to use AI, not only just how to use it to boost marketing efforts, but also just how to utilize AI in your everyday work and day-to-day life, and also where AI is headed in the future.
All right, y'all, before I introduce our guest, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel or find the audio version of this episode wherever you get your podcasts. Now, I'm really excited to introduce our guest for today. This is Shawn Black. He's the Regional Vice President of Business Development with CGP Maintenance and Construction Services. He's been in the industrial and facility management space for over 15 years. He's a speaker, author, and a fellow podcaster. So we're really delighted to have him on. He hosts the podcast Service Evolution with CGP Maintenance and Construction Services. So Shawn, thank you so much for joining us today. We're really happy that you're here.
I'm excited to be here. It's going to be a great show.
For sure. So before we jump into our actual topic, tell us a little bit about how you kind of got into facilities and marketing.
Yeah. So marketing, it's kind of interesting. I've been in business development, marketing, and sales for pretty much almost 30 years now. And so I started when I was 19 in B2B, and I've been doing it ever since, going through different roles, different leadership positions. And then for facility management, I think like most people, it wasn't a planned event. People kind of just fall into FM. But I'm glad it did, because it's been a really interesting journey so far. I was working in an electrical contractor here in San Diego, and we grew them so much, but the problem was that I was working about 110 hours a week because I was doing a lot of roles, and I was in burnout. So I decided that was not for me. And then I ended up getting connected with a general contractor and met with Jim Robinson, who's our CEO here, and was one of the toughest interviews I ever had in my life. I had like 3 interviews, group interview. I had an IQ test. I had 2 different personality tests. I'm like, listen, this better be the best job I've ever gotten in my life to go through all this trouble. But I did get the job, of course, and it's been really interesting ever since. It's been a great experience.
Even in the last year, AI has grown tremendously. By 2027, the AI market is predicted to be worth $407 billion. So Shawn, can you give us like a brief overview of where the AI industry is right now?
Right? That's kind of a loaded question. That's a day by day, hour by hour question at this point. The AI industry is exploding. It is literally recreating itself day by day. There's so much movement and turmoil. We have, past CEOs coming from OpenAI going to Google. Was it Google or Bing? Bing? I think it was Bing.
I think it was Bing, yeah.
Yeah, Bing. It was Microsoft, right?
Yeah, they hired them up. Yeah, so... And, Microsoft has an agreement with OpenAI, and they're partners to a great extent now with Bing. And so the movement in the industry is insane. The changes in the technology are even more insane. There's open pieces of code right now out there. There's so much we can go into. I don't even have to keep track of it. I try to keep track with it. I have some really great podcasts that I listen to and some really good YouTube channels. And I was even listening last night. I'm like, wow, this is getting really crazy. The amount of stuff that's going on. The reality is AI is being utilized already so much in healthcare and
Yeah.
in other industries, retail, you name it. In FM, it is evolving very quickly to be able to give us really great tools. The vast majority of the tools are really related around data collection and utilizing that data to be able to give us some kind of predictive outcome, and then being able to use that predictive outcome to make changes in facility maintenance before things break, essentially.
Yeah, and with the advancements, I mean, it's like it's changing everything for workers at all levels, from the CEO on down. What do you think's a lot of these, like a little more in depth on what the impact that you see them having for, just for everyday employees?
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's going to be interesting. The everyday employee. Okay, well, here's what I would say about that. The ones that learn how to use AI will
Right.
keep and excel in their jobs, and the ones who don't won't.
Right.
It's going to
Yeah.
become, it's going to really boil down to that. What is happening is AI is going to 10x a person's ability,
Right.
and whether you're in marketing or sales, or those are great applications, really good ones that I'm familiar with. But when you get into engineering and programming, even project management, if you're not using this stuff, you're going to be so far behind. And I mean, like, using it today.
Yeah.
Because tomorrow, even, you're far behind. And the further you get behind on this, the harder it's going to be to catch up.
It doesn't even have to replace everything you're doing. It can just supplement, right? I mean, you could be good, and it's going to turn you into a great employee or a great worker, and
Yeah,
really
so
kick
what's
it up a
really
notch.
interesting, I'm glad you bring that up, because what I'm seeing is what it is doing is it is enhancing what you suck at. So like, if you're really good at connecting with people and but you're horrible at planning, well, guess what? AI can really plan that out for you, and it's great
Right.
at it. You're right. If you're a coder and you're I don't know anything about coding. But let's just say it was going to enhance what you're really bad at,
Right.
because it will shore up that, and then that person can go all in on what they're great at, and then continue to enhance that and become superpowers. It kind of balances them out. If the person who's using AI versus the person who doesn't, that's going to be the difference. Is they're not going to have
Right.
the same weaknesses they used to.
True. Yeah. Yeah. Very true. I see the same thing. And with that comes a lot of challenges facing AI. Not only from development but also like privacy and regulatory issues. What are some of your thoughts on some of those primary challenges? Because I mean they're big, right? And how do you really regulate that?
I think the genie's out of the bottle.
Yeah.
I think the problem with that is you can't get it put back in.
Right.
And the faster, I don't know, I'm not a really huge fan of U.S. government or any kind of government regulation, but the time they're trying to grasp on and regulate what's going on, by the time they figure out let's do this, it's already going to be changed.
Right.
It's moving that fast. And you guys know, like, OpenAI is the fastest growing app or application of all time, like in history.
Yes.
Like,
Right.
it blew away anything out on the market. And now all these other ones are basically utilizing it or their own AI.
Right.
And they're growing so fast at a rate that's even beyond like Moore's law. It's like it's way past what is
Moore's
like
law, yeah.
like technology doubling. No, this is doubling like in weeks. So it's kind of scary. It's scary, but it's awesome at the same time. So regulatory, I don't think it's going to happen. I think it's too far past that.
Yeah.
Wow.
They're just gonna have to wait for it to simmer down and then try and regulate it on the back end or
Good luck.
something. Yeah.
The reality is, the reality is.
Well, and then if the AI is good enough, right, you can then just say, how do I get around these regulations?
Yes.
Yeah.
Pretty much. I mean, listen, the reality is anytime a new technology gets rolled out in the history of mankind, there's always someone that takes advantage of it and uses it for the wrong purpose. It's just going to happen. And I can't remember, there was a great study on this that basically said, I think it was like 1 out of every 8 or 800. I can't remember the numbers. I'll have to find it for you guys. But the point is that the bad actors are far less than the people who are contributing to society using any kind of technology, whether it's the longbow, when that came out, versus, OpenAI.
Right.
Sure.
I've seen some predictions on kind of when people think AI is going to hit, or this iteration of AI is going to hit its peak. And the one I saw most commonly was like 5 or 6 years. What do you think? What have you been hearing from other experts? And
guys, in 5 or 6 years, our economy is going to crash twice, at least.
Oh, yeah.
It's just the way it's going to happen with this stuff is it's going to create such an incredible amount of abundance and opportunity. Not necessarily in wealth or any kind of monetary compensation. It can for the person who uses it and gets on board and starts working with it. But the reality is there's going to be so much opportunity out there that the current way of measuring dollars and cents and what's going on in the economies and being able to take a company from zero to $1 billion is going to be half. It used to be that it would take tens of thousands of people to drive a company that size, right? And then technology shrink that down. I don't know how many employees Facebook has, but it's not that many, and that number keeps getting smaller and smaller. I was listening to a great podcast that was basically saying, hey, the next $1 billion company will be 3 people.
Right.
Because of AI, because of the 10x or plus effect that AI has on the marketplace. And that is going to greatly change the way everything is done in business. It's just going to blow. Anything we think is possibly going to happen right now in the next 5 years, we have no clue. It's going to be completely blown way further than we think is going to happen. Anything's going to happen. It's just going to be nuts.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm both like excited and terrified to think about it. And someday when I'm 75 and hopefully I get to have grandkids. Like I remember as a kid, I was assigned projects where call your grandma and ask her what it was like when JFK died, or get some of that historical perspective. And so it just sort of makes me wonder, like one day if the robots haven't taken over, will my grandkids call me and say, Grandma, what was it like when AI happened? What was that experience like? And we're living history right now.
It's probably one of the most exciting times to be alive. It's crazy to even say that, but if you think it this way, this is how I look at you to answer your question in 5 years. Imagine today's dial-up AOL, and 5 years is actually where we are today. Right. That's how far I think it's going to jump. It took 20, 30 years for that to happen.
Yeah.
I think that's going to happen in 5 years, that kind of advancement.
Wow.
It's not going to be, we're not going to even recognize the marketplace based on what's happening right now.
Almost, it's practically unfathomable.
Wow. AR, VR, all those are going to be involved. The other day, I think I was talking to you about Tori. I can't remember.
Yeah. I
was saying, man, you know what the next step is? VR or AR is coming to cars. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
And sure enough, I saw, it was an Audi. Oh man, it was like a supercar, and they had AR, and every instrument in the car was AR.
Oh wow!
Every instrument, and giving you directions on the road, just like I knew it was going to happen. All AR had the complete, like your mapping and topographic map, everything in AR.
Wow,
it's gonna be nuts. That's the top of the line right now. So in 5 years, it's gonna be standard.
It's wild.
I know. So it's going to be fun. I'm excited to see what happens here.
So, Shawn, we've talked about kind of AI broadly. I want to drill down a little bit into what AI in marketing looks like. Obviously, this is really where a lot of your expertise lies. And we've talked about employees kind of reskilling, upskilling, or just having to adapt, right, to the marketplace. So what are some of these new AI innovations that people in marketing are implementing right now? How is that changing what it means to be a marketer?
Yeah, great question. It's changing everything. I mean, every aspect of my life is being changed. I'm one of those sci-fi, early tech geeks. So as soon as this came out, I'm like, oh my God, thank you. I'm so excited. So I've been hopping into this for a while. Since it was even available, I don't know, I was definitely not the first to get the account. I was not far behind. So it's gonna be crazy. I'll give you an example. Right now, GPT has agents. Are you guys familiar with this?
I don't think so.
Okay. So you can create, it's brand new. I think it's a day or two old. So you can create GPT agents, which in the past, if you had the history and you kept it and you trained the history of the chat, you could do something very similar, but not nearly as detailed as this. Okay. So I'll give you an example. This week, I've created, because I'm a staff of one, say my company, and so I'm like, man, if I had a copy editor, and if I had a SEM expert or SEO expert, and I had all these different positions as a marketing agency would have internally, that would be awesome. So guess what I did? I created them.
Oh yeah.
I created every single position. I still have about probably 5 more to create. I went through and created these GPT agents that right now do not work autonomously, but the code has already been written for them to work autonomously. So what I will do is I will go to the director, and they all have names, and they all have identities, and they all have personalities, because that's part of setting these up, and they all have tonality in how they communicate. So they're essentially autonomous bots that will be working together like a team. And so I will punch in, hey guys, I have a new project coming up, and this is what we're going to be doing. So I will give it to you, the director, and go, I want it done by Friday, and I need proofs by Wednesday. Go. Boom. And it will start working with, I don't know how long it's going to take. I know it's going to be a hell of a lot quicker than that. So, but it will start taking all the information and go from department to department to department and prove and do everything, and then spit out a product for me. That has already been proved by an editor.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's happening right now. The autonomous agent code is already out. It's not quite working yet, but I would say probably within the next couple of weeks it would be.
And that's wild that you're normally when you hear a phrase like that, you're like, maybe in 6 months. No.
Couple weeks, I would say. Yeah.
Wow.
It's not. I'm so excited.
Yeah. I mean, that's an insane innovation. Yeah. So, what was this? Maybe 2 months ago, Shawn, you had done a little experiment, kind of plugging some of my information from my LinkedIn page into ChatGPT, and you had it kind of do like a psychographic behavioral analysis of me, and also put me in a disc profile.
It did,
and it was pretty accurate,
really
accurate. And a lot of companies are kind of already using this generative AI to perform similar analysis for people, for just targeted and personalized ads. And so talk to me about the value of AI's ability to just take large amounts of personal data, analyze, and then spit out an ad or write copy, whatever it is, that reaches a lot of people.
It's going. I keep saying it's going to change everything. It is. Yeah. It is. I heard a really cool example about this. We're one of the most connected societies on the earth right now, and it's only getting more connected with cameras. We have cameras everywhere. So you add the camera and you connect it to AI, and that data you're talking about collecting is in real time. And so then what you're talking about is, and I heard this example, it was so good. Say a fashion designer in London wants to know what the trends are in New York right now for outerwear. Type send. Access all the cameras in New York. View everyone who's on the subway. Look at their outwear everywhere, because there's cameras everywhere in New York. And you can get that data, and it will break it down to you by trend. And so now having that data, you can now say, okay, well, this is what's trending. And, let me design something around that for this season right now. So you can be able to make decisions in real time based on data in real time, which then in turn changes everything. The person who has access to the data has access to what's happening currently, and so whatever they produce will be relevant now. Where the person who's designing for next fall has no clue. I mean, they think they do, but they don't. So how's it going to change? It's going to change by whoever has the best AI tools wins. That's how it's going to change. And the person who knows how to use them best, that's how it's going to change. The data collection it's already there. It's going to get crazier because every time we sign up a new app, we give everything away.
Yeah.
So true.
All the terms and conditions, nobody reads them, right?
No.
I mean,
no one reads them. I'm sure
you probably got to name your firstborn son GPT or something. I didn't know when I signed up for that.
Everyone knows so much more about me than I ever wished I knew. So, and for people like us guys, we have hundreds of hours of voice and imaging online.
Yeah.
Imagine. So it's a little scary. I was thinking about that the other day with all the cloning tools and what you can do with them and stuff. So the collection of the data is the person who has access to it and is able to utilize it is going to be able to excel their career, excel their life personally, and financially. It's going to be a huge game changer.
Yeah, absolutely. And it does kind of bring to mind for me, right? You're saying people who have the best AI tools and who can utilize them the most effectively are going to come out on top. What happens to the human element? Because that's still important to people.
Right.
How do we stay connected? How do we maintain really authentic? I mean, is that even the right word? Authentic creativity? I don't know. I have a little.
That's a great question because that's a great question because there's so much early bias against using AI, saying, "Oh, well, it's not really you." I disagree. I put a lot of thought into stuff, and when I use AI, I put a lot of time and a lot of thought. The things that it does for me is it allows me to format and create so much faster. Right? Our little experiment the other day in our leadership stuff, I was able to create an entire program for us to learn from it as an example very quickly, including graphics for this entire presentation, and it took me a half hour.
And it was pretty impressive. So to give a little background on this, we were assigned to create kind of a script of a workplace team and to implement most of the principles that we've been learning about in this leadership class into the script, so you could see how it would kind of play out in real life. And Shawn, you plugged in pieces or all of our textbook, and it spit out this awesome script and did exactly what we wanted it to. Came up with these beautiful graphics that would have taken an illustrator, like days and days to create.
Days.
Right.
It was
amazing.
Really, very, very impressive. So this begs another question for me, which is that my personal approach to AI in my own workflow is pretty ad hoc. Like it's a little bit piecemeal. I use it when I can, where I can. And I think that that's true for a lot of people in some of these small to mid-sized companies. But what would you say to those folks kind of about the pros and cons of having a more concentrated AI strategy, which it sounds like you definitely have, like you're using it all the time. And I'm not using it all the time, only sometimes. So what are the pros and cons of that?
I don't know. The pros are obviously the more you use it, the more adept you are at the technology, the quicker you're learning how it's changing. And you can be ahead of that curve. I think the cons are don't let yourself get lazy in doing your due diligence, right? Because you don't want to let AI generate content for you without proofing the content, without reading the content, without understanding it. Most of the content I generate, I write, and I have AI help me make it better.
Refine it,
refine it. And that's where I think AI comes in. You can certainly go hit send and give me everything. With the right prompt, it will. And I think the other thing is having an all-in strategy will allow you to really utilize AI so much more effectively in a quicker time. Because once you get really using it and using the prompts and understanding what prompts and doing the research on the prompts, by the way, because you can go out on YouTube right now, YouTube University, right? And you can learn all these prompts. And I've learned the best prompt I've learned so far is I want you to write this in conversational tone using less jargon and make it Spartan. I didn't know the hell Spartan meant. I had to look that word up. But basically it just meant shorter and more precise. I'm like, oh, cool. So that prompt changed everything on my responses, and it made it so much more human-like. So much. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Well, so where should people start if they're like, no, I know I really need to dig into creating a concentrated strategy? Where do you start?
Go to YouTube. I would honestly go straight to YouTube and go, and there is literally a training course that's free on how to use Chat GPT from start to finish today, because tomorrow will be obsolete. But today, it's still there. And you can get on it and go through that, and within a half hour, you're going to be pretty up to date with what's going on, and then just dive into it. I started diving into it and just exploring, not knowing, and that's what I ended up doing is going to YouTube and learning. But I didn't have to really learn how to use it. I figured it out pretty quickly. It's not that hard. But I would tell you this, I don't even use Google anymore.
Oh, wow.
At all.
Wow.
Like, maybe once in a while, but hardly ever. If I need something, I go to Chat 4, it's connected to the internet, and then it gives me everything I need.
So tying right into that, being a marketer yourself, how long do you think it's going to take before somebody monetizes that? Because if you're saying, I mean, aside from a subscription, right?
Today.
Because if you're, today.
It's already done. Yeah, the monetization is already happening. Chat is giving you the ability to create GPT bots, right? But they're also saying, here, these are already made. You want to buy them? And not only that, they have a marketplace now open up where you can create a GPT that's really done well, and you can sell it.
So so that's money to GPT, right? Google makes all its money by selling other companies slots. So how do you see AI getting monetized? Because like you said, you don't use Google anymore. I'm sure that makes Google freak out, because if everybody can get the answers through something that is free, right? It's open, but then it has its own upsells, they're going to lose a huge amount of revenue.
Yeah, their revenue is based on the traffic, right? So I don't think it's going to go that far because they already have Bard, right? They have their own AI, which is very good. And I use Bard and I use Bing. I don't like Bing as much. Sorry, Bing. But I like Bard. It's pretty good. When I can't get what I need from Chat, I will go to Bard. And then quite often I will use Bard and Chat at the same time and use them against each other. Or and working with each other. It just works really well. It's just a click, paste, paste. Oh, cool. Click, paste. Oh, okay. And it goes really fast getting what I need. Especially from a marketing standpoint, if I'm trying to find out information, I'm building a customer profile on the company, this is great. This is where I can get all the information I want, double check it. I can get, company's revenue, how many stores they have, how many employees they have, what's their turnovers like. There's all kinds of stuff you can find out. And that kind of stuff is what helps me build customer profiles. And then from there, I continue on to the individuals. And that's where, the disc profile and all this other stuff comes into play. If they have it out there where people can actually read it and they're using social media. Some of the people in our industry don't like at all. They'll have a profile with no picture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, you're not. No. So yeah, there's there's so much that is going to change for us in the upcoming 30 days and year. And when it comes to the use of this stuff, it's going to be crazy, you guys.
Yeah.
Tori's it's too much.
As in prepping for the show, I'm like, Shawn has so much insight. I'm so excited to talk to him about it, but it's also it's a little it's such good information, but scary and just the breadth and depth of it is a bit overwhelming. I mean,
yeah, I honestly just think here's the goal: is people just need to hop in and start learning.
Mm-hmm.
They do,
Right.
And
Mm-hmm.
there's going to be the 12 o'clock flashers still out there. The people who have their VCRs that flash 12 o'clock. Those people still exist. They're not going to use technology in a way, and at that point they're just going to be lost in the crowd here. It's going to happen, and that's okay. There's someone with AI will be able to figure out how to take care of them.
Yeah.
I mean, the upside is everything we're talking about. The downside is the best scenarios were pets of AI or were food.
Right.
So
Yeah.
one of the two. We're gonna get used to our overlord. Coming into play.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Which I think that's kind of the other question in the AI space, or when you're talking about artificial general intelligence, right? Is for it to be a general intelligence, does it have to be conscious, sentient? And we talked about this in our last podcast a little bit, but there are different experts who say different things. They're like, oh, it's just a matter of scaling. Some people say, no, it doesn't track like the human brain does, and so we can't call it intelligence.
Right.
And so, Shawn, what are your thoughts on that? Like, does AI need to become conscious, sentient,
No.
self-aware? No.
Will it?
Okay.
Yeah.
Gosh, here's the thing: is the weird thing is that at some point, it will be.
Yeah.
It will be. As scary as that is, it just will be. I don't know. I don't think it'd be as soon as people think.
I would tend to agree with that.
And here's the thing also is one AI is not going to take over the world because there's multiple AIs.
Mm-hmm.
And if one's conscious, the other was not far behind. We'll have multiple conscious AIs. We'll have AIs protecting us from other AIs. It's not going to be just like, iRobot where they're taking over an entire city and trying to take over the world. And if they do, there's going to be other AIs standing in their way.
Okay, well,
we're making the AIs to do that. So, it's going to be interesting. I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I don't know what's going to happen.
Wow.
Soon, though.
Okay. My mind is spinning, Shawn.
Right.
Spinning.
Exactly.
But
yeah. I mean, for every possible purpose that we have, AI is going to be integrated into it. It's just, that's what it's going to come down to.
Right.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, Shawn, thank you so much for joining us. This has been such an awesome conversation.
Yeah, definitely.
And a scary one, but really, really good. So thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, you're welcome. It was fun to be on. Thank you.
So, Jonathon, what an amazing episode.
Yeah,
like
it definitely
mind-blowing
was.
stuff. What are your top takeaways? How do you see AI kind of impacting marketing sales beyond?
I mean, I think like Shawn said, it's just going to be a huge game changer. I think the biggest takeaway for me, especially with Shawn clearly knowing so much about AI and its abilities, is just how he compared the next 5 years to being dial-up AOL internet to where we're at now.
Yeah.
And that takes me, that's my whole life, basically, because I remember that growing up. So like you're taking 30, 40 years and all of that technological advancement he thinks is going to be compressed into 5 years. To me, that's just huge. And it's like, I mean, it's going to be great to see, and it'll be great, if it actually happens. So it's one of those things that I think I need to ask AI to remind me in 5 years to get in touch with Shawn to see where it's at.
Yeah. Yeah. I would agree with you and just kind of echo that sentiment of the pace.
Right.
This stuff is moving is, I mean, I'm almost not able to comprehend it. I mentioned this on our last episode, but I had written a blog over the summer, I think it was, about artificial general intelligence. And everything that I wrote in that blog is, if not obsolete entirely, it's at least partially obsolete.
Right. Yeah.
Just
and it might just be obsolete in the next month.
Exactly.
According to Shawn,
Yes, exactly. So the pace is like, if you need to be you needed to be on board with AI like yesterday or probably months ago, honestly.
Right. Exactly.
So I think just to those folks out there who aren't, if you haven't even interacted with AI at all, like set up a Chat GPT account and start playing around with it, even if it's just really silly things like find me or write me a recipe for queso or whatever it is,
like,
right?
One of my things, I'm a big Office fan, right? So one of the things that I did when I was playing around with Chat GPT was I asked it to give me Office trivia, hey, give me, and so I mean it was fun, and it had an answer wrong, so it was like and it was really interesting that it was interactive like that. That I said, well, actually, your answer to number 9 is wrong, and then it said, well, why is that? And I said, well, this is why, and they said, whatever, so it was like it was like you were actually interfacing with somebody, and you weren't. It's a computer that is doing that, and ultimately it realized that I was right because humans are superior. Right?
Yes, we are. Who knows for how long, but for now.
For right now.
And I think that, to what Shawn had mentioned too, that you can even ask it to adjust its tone to be more conversational. Yeah. So even if it's spitting out copy for you, or you're interacting with it and doing trivia with it,
can be right.
It sounds like a person, which is scary, especially for. I was talking to a friend yesterday, and he's a big music guy, is a drummer, loves all that stuff, and was talking about how someone had taken like an old, really grainy recording of, I think it was a Paul McCartney song, and they just released a documentary about the Beatles or something, and they had taken this grainy recording. AI had been able to separate out all these different pieces. They refined the recording, and then they just released it as a new Beatles song. Yeah.
Oh wow.
And it's so you can find it on Apple Music or whatever. I can't remember the name of it, but I'll try to find it and link it below. But even little things like that, like the applications from, if you're a music buff to an Office fan to someone trying to write a script for
a screenplay or a movie,
or a screenplay, or even publishers who are like, we want to write 10,000 children's books this year,
right?
Boom, AI, go and do that. It's I mean, you could sit there and think about it all day long and never really fully
run out.
All the ways that it can augment what we do.
But so thanks everybody for joining us on the Innovation Room podcast. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your podcast.
Yep. Drop us a comment below. Let us know what you thought about this topic today. Talk to us about what topics you'd like to see us discuss in the future, and we will see you guys next time.